Hi, this is Attorney Walter Hnot. Are you ready to run some hearing questions?
Yes.
Perfect, madam. Quick update with the disclaimer. There's no attorney-client privilege, and make sure you use a fake name. So for today, what is your fake name?
Mary Turner.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, can you walk me through what is your dominant hand?
Right hand.
Right hand. What's your current age and date of birth?
45.
Okay, excellent.
May 17.
Very good. Okay, good. Now, help me out with this. What is your most severe physical impairment?
Mental.
Oh, say it again. What is it again?
Mental.
Oh, do you know the...
Concentration, focus.
Okay. So those are all symptoms of a mental impairment. Can you walk me through, when it comes to you, what is your most severe... well, let's start with that. What's your most severe mental impairment? Is it anxiety? Is it depression?
Yes, depression, anxiety, yes.
Okay. What about bipolar, mood disorder, panic attacks, things like that?
Mood disorder. I have mood disorders and panic attacks.
Okay, excellent. So now tell me, other than these mental impairments, do you have any physical impairments?
Yes. Mental is more mental.
More mental. Okay, understood. Tell me this. What was the last job that you worked within the past 15 years?
2013.
2013? Okay, and where'd you work?
Resin co-factory warehouse.
Okay, what'd you do there?
We put stickers on the clothes, and then they had me do stickers. They shipped me various places because I wasn't doing well.
Okay. Did you have any accommodations while you were working there?
Yes. Many co-workers assisted me. Yeah, they just basically had others assist me in completing the work because I never completed work.
Okay, so you're having some difficulties, but people were helping you out. Tell me, what were those accommodations that you received from that facility?
Well, they did my work. They did what I couldn't do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so they did the work for you. What was so difficult about the work that you needed assistance?
The pace.
The pace. Okay, keeping up with others, keeping up with the job load. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Now help me out with this. You were working there for how long?
In directions, following directions.
Follow me this. Did you get fired from there? Did you quit from there?
No, they fired me. They put me out the door.
Okay. And how long did you work there for?
It was like weeks. It was a temp job.
Okay, it was a temp job. Now help me out. Did you work any full-time work since 2005?
No.
No? Okay. So with most of the jobs that you worked, did you earn more than $5,000 at those different jobs?
I think it's hard to... No.
No. Did you earn more than $3,500?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And can you tell me, what was the longest job that you worked since 2005?
Arby's restaurant.
And at Arby's, did you get promoted? Were you in charge of training people or anything like that?
They attempted to, but I was struggling. One day, the first day, I was struggling. They tried to, I was struggling with everything.
Okay. So you had a difficult time. Can you tell me, are you currently taking medications for your mental impairments?
Yes.
Okay. Have most of the medications that you've been taking, have you been on them for an extended period?
Yes.
Okay. And then walk me through this.
I started taking medicine.
Okay. Gotcha. So, all right. Now, can you tell me, what are your medications for, and do you have any side effects?
Medication for my mental, sexual abuse.
Okay. So you're saying sexual abuse happened to you back in the day?
Yes.
Okay. Was this a younger thing where you were a child, or was this when you were older?
younger until my teenage years.
Okay, gotcha. So can you help me out? The PTSD that you have, is this something where you get nightmares, or is this something where you get flashbacks,
Yeah,
or both?
I get nightmares, and when I'm going to deep sleep, I pee on myself, and then I'm like, I'm angry a lot. Then my son, I just bite my lip a lot, and I daze off. Yeah, I'm a lot angry. Yeah, I'm angry.
Okay. So you get this anger. Do you get panic attacks?
Yes.
Explain to me how the panic attacks begin.
Hands, sweaty hands. It's really a scary feeling in my body. I don't know how to explain to you.
Okay.
And nervous, and then I shake a lot.
Okay.
Especially if somebody argue, I shake.
Okay.
And I get scared.
Now help me out with this. You're having these difficulties, right? So these were from when you were a child. Do you believe that these are the reasons that you've never really had a lot of full-time work?
Yeah, please. It's like I'm going off the bridge. Like it's like like I'm jumping off the bridge or jumping from high places, and I'm scared of heights. Yeah.
So pretty standard dreams. Help me out with this. Going forward, can you tell me, do you live in an apartment? Do you live in a house? You live in a house. And are you paying rent there?
Yes.
Okay. And is it a house that has multiple rooms in it?
Yes, 2 rooms.
2 rooms? Okay. Are there a lot of people living there?
My 2 boys.
Your 2 boys. And is the way you pay for the house through their child support?
Rental assistance.
It's just
No, they get SSI.
Okay. So both children receive SSI, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Are any of the fathers in the picture?
No.
Okay. So help me out with this. With the 2 SSI children, does your mom live at the house with you?
No, it's like an apartment house, a small 1 floor.
Say it again?
It's a small 1 floor house.
Okay. All right. So now let me ask you this. How old are the children?
14 and 17.
14 to 17. So one of them you kind of have to take care of. The other one, for the most part, takes care of the 17-year-old themselves, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And help me out with this. Does the 17-year-old help around the house, or do you mostly do the cooking, cleaning, and things like that?
Well, we heat up stuff in the oven and the microwave most of the time, or eat out.
Okay. Explain to me this. What are the child's impairments?
They have multiple impairments, communication. I'm not sure. So it's a list. It's a most. They got IEP. Both of them has IEP in school.
Okay. So they both have learning impairments?
Yes.
Okay.
And I was in special ed and had IEP, but it was a long time ago.
Okay. So do you currently have a boyfriend or somebody that helps you around the house?
No, my kids and I take turns.
So, so there's no boyfriend in your life currently that's assisting you with outside activities, stuff like that?
No.
So you must be mowing the lawn. You must be doing upkeep, correct?
No. I had some. Oh no, I'm sorry. I got someone doing that. I paid them.
You pay them. Okay. So help me out. The SSI money, that's not a lot of money. What's the rent like on that house?
Oh, I had rental assistance.
You have rental assistance. Okay. Do you currently smoke?
No.
Do you currently use marijuana? Do you drink at all? No? Okay, gotcha. Describe for me the difficulties you have with raising your children due to your mental impairments.
Helping them with homework. I had difficulty communicating with these teachers and police officers and just neighbors difficulty. Yes, I had run in with police over and over again. and neighbors.
Okay. So help me out with this. You have difficulty with homework. I'm sure getting them ready in the morning, things like that.
They get themselves ready.
They get themselves ready. Yeah, but they weren't always that old, were they? Right?
No.
Yeah. Okay. So when did they start taking care of themselves?
Well, they was doing a little more for themselves, for like 4, 5, like getting dressed themselves and stuff. I had to feed them.
Yeah. System. What kind of meals were you cooking for them?
Usually we was eating out, and my mom would bring us food and stuff.
Big meals?
She was allowed, huh?
Were they complex meals? Were they big meals?
Oh, they was some was big meals. My mom would cook, so she cooked big meals.
Okay, so your mom would help you with these things, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a car?
No.
Okay. Do you have a driver's license?
Yes.
How do you get to your mental appointments?
Transportation.
With the transportation, are we talking a bus or are we talking a bicycle?
Medical transportation.
Okay, so they show up and pick you up.
Yes.
Okay. So for everybody watching on YouTube, I just want to give them a heads up as to how this claim would be a good claim. First and foremost, she obviously has some sort of Medicaid-based allowance because there's transportation involved, which means insurance is carrying it. Second of all, she obviously has, made to the point where the children are 14 and 17, which is tricky because the judges are going to be thinking, how did she raise the kids if she had these impairments for a long-term issue? Because remember, she said, hey, I have PTSD from when I was sexually abused as a child, which means there's a long history of it. She was able to work sometimes, I'm guessing not a lot, even though this stuff occurred to her until the point which, and ma'am, correct me if I'm wrong, but you stopped working once both children received SSI benefits. Is that correct?
No.
No?
I tried. Uh-huh. I tried working the last job I had 2013. They didn't, when it was young age, they was getting SSI.
Okay. But it was probably around that time, right? You got the benefits and then you tried another job and then you said, you know what, I'll just stick with the SSI?
Yes.
Okay. So, all right, let me go through this. One of the things that the judge is going to, and keep in mind, you're still young. You're in the 45 category, which means there's no grittings that's going to help you, which means we only have CALS, a vocational allowance, or listings as our main options to find you disabled. So you're currently having these difficulties. Now, when you talk, and women do this a lot to me, they don't usually bring up sexual abuse or suicidal attempts. Are there any suicidal attempts on the record?
No.
Okay. And is the reason for that because you were afraid of losing your children?
Yes.
Okay. So I just want to point out, guys, when it comes to women, these female claims are tougher than male claims because if a woman loses her child, she goes insane. That's her everything. The more so than anything in the world, that's her everything. So So the bottom line here is disability claims for mental only are tougher to win for females that have kids because they will purposely not, put the red light out and say, there's a red blinking light. I'm in danger. I have problems. I'm suicidal. They'll purposely not put that blinking danger.
I saw it. Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Many times.
Okay. When you go to the doctor, do you often tell them that things are better than they actually are?
Yes.
Has DCF ever interacted with you in an attempt to go ahead and talk about the removal of your children?
Many times, yes.
Okay. So I just want to point out with these claims, guys, the best way to handle them is to go ahead and look at the record and see specifically what the doctors are saying. Because the doctors may understand what she's going through because they know this too. They know when it comes to female claims where they got kids, they're not going to say they're as bad as they are. The other side of the coin is the trick that most people do is is your mom involved with your life? Like, does your mom interact with you?
She passed.
She's passed. Okay. Is there somebody else in your life that you trust that, could help you with the kids and things like that?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. So then that's a pretty tricky case. What a lot of people do is they'll have their mom or somebody else they trust go ahead and take legal possession of the children during the process of obtaining disability benefits. And then after that, they'll get a doctor to go ahead and say if they're capable of being around and interacting with their children. But for female claims where they've got kids and they're afraid of losing them, these are the toughest claims to win because they purposely withhold how bad they actually are to the doctors. Now, I'm guessing, though, because the Medicaid group is working with you, you're in a situation where they already know you're really bad and that you've got really difficult mental impairments, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me, what was the last time that you had a Baker Act, or what was the last time that some big event happened with your medical background?
But last time, what happened?
So what was the last time that you had a big mental event, a big mental breakdown?
Oh, mental event. Just recently. This year. Yeah, so I don't know. A month, I don't know.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. Obviously, memory difficulties. What was the highest level of education that you completed?
9th.
What happened in 9th grade?
I left school because I seemed like I wasn't going nowhere, and I left because I know I was in special education, and it seemed like I wasn't going nowhere. Whatever they was teaching me, they taught me, and I wasn't going nowhere else.
Okay. So let me ask you this. When it comes to your claim, do you have a hearing already coming up?
I did my hearing. I looked at your videos. I did my hearing.
So the hearing is already done?
Yes.
Okay. I'm assuming, did somebody represent you throughout this process? Did you have an attorney?
Yes.
Okay. Can you help me out? When you went through this process with that attorney, did the attorney question you a lot during the hearing?
About my sexual abuse and not so much. He's talking about my sister. Like, he didn't just say sexual abuse, he said it another way. But I was crying, yeah, so I broke down then.
You're just waiting for a decision at this point, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So help me out with this. How many months have you been waiting for a decision?
I just did it just days ago, the 21st.
21st. So, because because the date is the 14th. So you're saying like a month ago you did it?
Yes, a month ago.
Okay, cool, awesome. All right. So here's what's happening. I'm gonna hop out of the asking you questions part. What worried me is that you didn't really have a structure to your testimony in the beginning because you weren't sure what your most severe impairment was. You weren't sure, where, which one was worse than the next one. It was scattered a bit. So obviously, now just be honest with me here. Did your attorney call you a couple of times ahead of time before the hearing and run questions with you?
No.
Okay. Do you feel you would have been better prepared had you run questions with them?
Yes, because when I looked at your videos, I was like...
Attorney they hired in Texas, and how they didn't prep her and how they didn't do stuff, and that they didn't go through the process in a proper way to go ahead and show her how to get through the hearing process. And this person was really a Texas law firm. So the thing is, now let me ask you this. Did the judge have a lot of questions for the vocational expert? Did they have a bunch of jobs that you could potentially do?
It was some, and then when he asked me some questions, I guess it went lower.
Okay.
So.
All right, so let me give you a little outro as to what happens now at this point so you have an understanding. Almost every single ALJ judge, especially for somebody in their 45 age group area, is going to go ahead and basically take 3 to 4 months to make a decision. The decision comes in 3 flavors. Flavor number 1 is basically an unfavorable. That means not disabled. Flavor number 2 is partially favorable. That means they're moving your alleged onset date forward or backward, depending on what they feel is correct, usually forward in time. And then fully favorable is where you basically are found disabled from the date that which you're claiming as your alleged onset date. Now, your claim is obviously, because of your work history, an SSI only claim, which means Supplemental Security Income. For that reason, since it's only SSI, the farthest you can go back is your protective filing date. So let me ask you this. What date did you choose with your attorney for your alleged onset date?
The last day I worked, the 2013.
The last day you worked. Okay. Was there any medical reason during that time? I mean, were you having medical treatment? Was the group picking you up in their van to take you to medical appointments at that point? Why was that?
Recently, I went to medical treatment before, and then just recently, license had me going to medical treatment, and then I'm just in medical treatment now. Yeah,
So you didn't have as much medical treatment back then?
No.
All right. So in that case, most likely what will happen is the judge will go ahead and basically, switch your alleged onset date to when you medically met the listing requirements or the vocational allowance requirements to be found disabled. So I don't think the attorney I don't know, I haven't seen your file, but a smarter choice other than picking your protective filing date or perhaps the month after the month you last worked, would have been to pick the best date where there's medical evidence to show that you are actually severe. Had you picked that date, you would have a higher likelihood of the judge approving the claim faster. So remember, I just want to point out to everybody, guys, if your attorney doesn't come to you about what your alleged onset date is, then there's a problem. Alleged onset date is the date in which you are claiming that you became severely disabled under the Social Security's rules and regulations. So what that means is that it's a date where you can prove medically that you were severely impaired and also financially weren't basically earning too much, or in a penal institution, or there's lots of things that you could run afoul of. So the bottom line is, what you have to kind of keep in consideration with this is you always have to be able to tie your alleged onset date to a specific medical opinion that says, hey, severe. And remember, it doesn't always have to be just a singular impairment that equates to severe. It can be multiple impairments that total a severe residual functional capacity. So let's go through that real quick. All right. So at this point, what did your attorney tell you about how the hearing went?
He never called me. He said he needs some paperwork from my doctors. He never called me about anything.
Okay. So what that means is that the attorney was unable to collect or obtain all of your records before the hearing. That happens sometimes, but the other side of the coin is, he needs a piece of paper from you in order to get records, or is he saying he just...
No, he's saying he needs my doctor just contact him with paperwork.
So he's saying the doctor never contacted him back with the paperwork?
Yes.
Okay. So what's the attorney's plan to get the paperwork from that doctor?
He said he's going to call him. He already called him before, but he never responded. And now he said he's going to send him some more paperwork to respond again.
Okay. So guys, when this happens and an attorney is unable to get the records, sometimes what the attorneys will do is they'll go ahead and submit a notification to the doctor that says, you're going to get a subpoena. Here comes the silver bullet. And the reason why doctors don't want to get a subpoena is because they're required to go ahead and respond to it within a timely manner. If they don't, and guess what? Jail time, or they'll have to show up to a hearing and present their reasoning as to why they can't provide the evidence. Sometimes they can submit it in writing. So in this particular case, what you have to consider is this. The SSA can send out what's called an 827. That's kind of their HIPAA form. And if the doctor doesn't respond to the 827, then at that point, the judge can submit a subpoena. Now, attorneys have a 5-10 day rule. So basically, if the attorney is unable to get the records 10 days before the hearing, the attorney has to tell the judge, hey, I can't get these records. I need help. Send a subpoena. 5 days before the hearing, the attorney has to notify the judge of any outstanding records. Otherwise, those records will be barred from the record unless the judge goes ahead and gives wiggle room for the attorney to go and get them thereafter. Okay, so in this case, yeah, go ahead.
I had a question because they said I was approved before when my oldest son was applied for Social Security, but they when I tried to go back for the approval because I rejected it, they telling me I couldn't get it. Why was that?
You're saying that you were approved back in the day when your son was?
Yes.
Okay. Now, was that at the initial filing level? Was that at the reconsideration level?
No, that was this was a whole nother situation where my son was being approved from a lady, and then she wrote up the paperwork for me to be approved. But when I didn't go, he got his, but I didn't go and get mine. I waited it out, and then they said they can't use the same paperwork. Why is that?
So what you're saying is back in the day, you were found disabled, but for some reason you got a technical denial and had to go forward and do a hearing.
Yes, I had to go through the whole process over.
Okay. So you were found disabled back in the day and receiving benefits.
No, I rejected the benefits. Instead, I went to work.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, if you reject the benefits, then, and you went to work, then you have to reapply and go through the process. That makes sense. Yeah. Because remember, you can work for 9 months once you're found disabled and not have it hurt you or take away money from you. But after that trial work period of 9 months, then they're going to go ahead, they're probably going to take away the benefits or reduce the benefits if you're earning a smaller amount. Remember, guys, if you want to go ahead and work and be on disability benefits, your first option is to use up your 9 months of trial work period. And then thereafter, you can sign what's called a Ticket to Work program. And the Ticket to Work program is usually a 5-year contract with a regional office manager from a field office that will go ahead and contract with you so that you can keep the money while working. But at the same time, at the end of those 5 years, you have to stop being on disability benefits and just keep working. It's a carrot program to allow you to get money from working and also receive disability benefits. Okay, so what happens now? 3 to 4 months, you get a decision. Some of the judges take up to 7 to 8 months. The bottom line is it'll come, it might be 20 pages, might be 30 pages long. But when you get that decision, you want to go right and, flip through it until you get to basically the section that talks about facts. The facts are where you're a vocational expert. What types of jobs did the vocational experts say that you could do?
I think it was from 1 to light work jobs. And then she said, the judge asked, do you have for the vocational? To ask my lawyer, do you have questions for the vocational? He said no. And then he came to me, he asked me a question about my sexual abuse, and then that was it.
Okay.
He never talked to me after that for a while, and then I said I called him and see what was going on. He said they asking, requesting my doctor's medical records.
Okay. So basically what you're missing at this point are your medical records that he has to go and obtain and submit to the court. Did the judge give him a particular amount of time, like 20 days, 10 days, days? Okay.
No.
So
she just said, I'm going to hold it off for now, but I need the her doctor's medical records.
All right. So yours will take...
She had me go to a psychiatrist a year before I was even went to my hearing.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So bottom line is, since basically you went to the ME back in the day, your attorney will collect the documentation, and then at that point, you'll go ahead and transition from basically, waiting for them to do something with it to they'll start working on it. They'll start writing the decision. So the judge is not the person who actually writes the decision. In the back of that building is a small cave at the hearing office. And in that small cave, basically are a bunch of writers. And the writers are attorneys who just sit there all day and write these briefs. And the judge advises them as to which way they want them to lean with the brief, whether it's approval or denial or whatever. So bottom line is this. At this point, you're going to have to wait 3 to 4 to maybe 5 months because the judge is waiting to get that medical documentation in. Once you do get approved, if you get approved, then at that point, you'll have to do a pre-effectuation interview. Do you know what a pre-effectuation interview is?
No.
A pre-effectuation interview is where you meet the medical requirements for the disability program, but now they need to go ahead and see if you meet the financial requirements. So if you have more than $2,000 in the bank, if you have more than one car that's worth over a certain amount, if you have more than one house, whatever, things like that, more than $1,500 in a life insurance policy, if you have those things, then what it equates to is a situation where basically you wouldn't be eligible for SSI. So you have to truly be in an impoverished state, which if you don't have money and you're just using the kids' SSI money to get them through everything, then in that instance you would very likely be okay because you don't have money stored up. Okay?
Yeah, she asked about my kids' SSI money, how much they get.
Sure.
To the judge.
Okay. Now, do you have any, since you've already had your hearing, do you have any particular questions for me that you want to ask me while I'm on the phone with you?
Yes, I had some questions. I wanted to know about that forward pay that you was talking about because I can't see it on your video because like back pay, forward pay.
The phone kind of cut in and out there. Walk me through it again. What was it?
I was about the back pay and forward pay.
Sure. Okay. I'll explain how that works. For SSDI benefits, there's retroactive benefits, back pay benefits, and forward pay benefits. Retroactive benefits are benefits that are due to you from before you actually, from before when you filed. Back pay benefits are those benefits that are due to you from when you filed to when you were found disabled. And forward pay benefits are those benefits due to you from when you were found disabled going forward. So imagine if you file here and you go ahead and basically receive benefits here, then before you filed are retroactive benefits. From when you filed to when you were found disabled are back pay benefits. From when you were found disabled going forward in time into the future, that's your forward pay. Okay, forward pay benefits. So retroactive, back pay benefits, forward pay benefits. Now for SSI, you only get back pay and forward pay benefits. Back pay benefits, like we just said, they go all the way back to when you started applying for disability benefits. How do they work? The first month of your back pay benefits don't count. And the month you're found disabled don't count for benefit calculations. So the first month and the last month don't count for benefit calculations. So think the bookend months. We don't count those. But every single month that you waited in between, okay? Every single month that you waited in between when you filed and were found disabled, other than the 2 bookend months, you count those. And that's how many months you're going to go. What you do is with SSI, basically you'll go ahead and you will multiply the amount of months in a year by the SSI amount, right? So you multiply how much that SSI amount is for 2016, 2017, 2018, whatever is. You take 2019 and you multiply it by the amount of months that you were waiting in that year to be found disabled. And then you look at 2020 and you multiply the amount of months there by whatever the 2020 SGA amount is. Now, with that said, your benefits are going to be less than the maximum amount of SGA benefits. And the reason why is somebody else is paying for where you live, which is basically your SSI child benefits. And because you have SSI child benefits, they'll probably try to go ahead and use with you what's called the 1/3 reduction rule, which means they'll take your $783 and reduce it to around $500 per month.
Oh.
Yeah, no, not a good deal because it's going to kill your back pay quite heavily. It's going to cut off 1/3 of it. What that means, though, is that you're going to also have to submit to the SSA a notification that going forward in time, you are going to have to use your money to pay for the rent so that you get the full $783. Otherwise, they'll just keep paying you the $500 and yeah. So that's something to know. Okay, what other questions?
I requested that they I'm using my benefits.
Oh, say it again.
Would I request that with the SSI that I'm using my benefits to pay the rent?
Yes, you're going to notify them that you intend to use your benefits to pay a portion of the rent and that you're no longer using the child's SSI benefits in total. That way they give you the full $783 per month as opposed to the lower amount.
Oh, that's good. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's important. That's super duper important. Okay, now, do you have any other questions for me before I go to the next caller?
So I heard you about talking about buying a house and stuff. So you can buy a house with the SSI benefits?
Yes. Owning a house in no way is restricted by SSI benefits, the program, in any way. When you own more than one house, you can't do that. But owning a house, you're allowed to do that. What your move should...
won't take no benefits from you?
Yeah, so what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and approach, not a bank, but basically the different companies out there that are lenders specifically for the housing mortgage market, and do it if you can as soon as you can because of the low interest rates that are going on with COVID. And what you're going to, nope, you got something going on. So yeah, so no, it's okay. So what you're going to do at that point is you're going to show the mortgage person how much you bring in per month, how much you're bringing in through the child's benefits and things like that, and you're going to work with them to go ahead and show them what you can afford per month on a mortgage. Use the buildup of your back pay to go ahead and purchase a home. However, you will need to use something that's called an emergency allowance for release of back pay funds. An emergency allowance for release of back pay funds is where you show the SSA in a letter something that you want to buy or spend money on. That's for your personal upkeep. And they will release all of your SSI back pay that you need to buy that particular thing. That's how you get all of your back pay for SSI up front. And once that happens, basically, you can go ahead and apply that to the down payment you'll need for your mortgage. Just keep in mind, and this is important, when it comes down to your kids' SSI benefits, they will not be able to use those SSI benefits continuously going forward as a calculation for your monthly income. And the reason for that is that basically, at some point when they turn 18, they should be able to go ahead and have control over their own benefits and move forward in that regard. So they won't be able to calculate that necessarily unless there's some sort of contractual agreement that you have with the child that the amount of money per month will be spent specifically on that. But they'll have to sign the agreement as well for the mortgage. So they'll have to be a co-signer.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'll catch you a little bit later. And don't be afraid to give me a call back with any further questions.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.